Okay, so get this. You sent us some stuff on Jane Elliott's Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes experiment.
Yeah.
And
it's intense.
it's a doozy, for sure.
Really is.
It's 1968, right after MLK's assassination.
Right.
Racial tensions are high, obviously.
Yeah.
And Elliott,
Third grade teacher.
she's a third grade teacher.
Yep.
Wants to teach her students about discrimination. But not just like, from a textbook.
Right.
She's about to give them like a real life experience.
Real experience of it, yeah.
Yeah.
She divides her class based on eye color.
Whoa!
Blue eyes versus brown eyes.
So wait, hold on. Just like that?
Pretty much.
No warning.
Out of the blue.
No content.
Just straight up blue eyes are better.
Blue eyes are better.
Just got it.
I mean, can you imagine being an 8-year-old in that room?
I mean, it's got to be confusing.
The confusion, the sudden shift in the classroom dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a bold move.
Right.
She doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
Elliott goes on to create this whole system of privilege.
Okay.
Blue-eyed kids, longer recess, front row seats.
Oh, wow.
They even get to pick first in games.
Wow.
And she praises them more, telling them how smart and capable they are.
So the blue-eyed kids are on top of the world at this point.
They are.
But what about the brown-eyed kids?
Total opposite. They're hit with the opposite.
Okay.
Shorter recess, stuck in the back.
Oh, wow.
Whole bunch of extra rules just for them.
Really?
And here's the kicker.
What's that?
They have to wear collars.
Collars?
Like a visual marker.
Oh, wow.
Of their supposed inferiority.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
Right.
It's like she's trying to make the discrimination, like, tangible. Something they can, like, literally see and feel.
Exactly, and the impact is immediate.
Oh, wow.
It's like flipping a switch.
Yeah.
The blue-eyed kids, they start acting superior. More confident, some even turn mean towards their brown-eyed classmates.
There's this one quote that really gets me.
Okay.
It's from a blue-eyed student, and it says, brown-eyed people are stupid.
Wow.
They can't do anything right.
Oh.
And you have to remember, like, these kids were playing together just fine the day before.
Totally.
It shows you how quickly these ideas about superiority and inferiority can take root.
It really does.
And on the flip side, the brown-eyed kids become, like, withdrawn, insecure.
Yeah.
Their grades even start to drop.
It's crazy. There's a story about one of the top students in the class, brown-eyed girl, who suddenly couldn't solve a simple math problem.
Wow.
The stress, the feeling of being labeled inferior.
That's where it gets really interesting.
Right.
It's not just about her feelings.
Right. That's affecting their actual cognitive abilities.
Right. It's affecting their actual cognitive abilities.
You got
That's got to be connected.
It's got to be.
To that Pygmalion effect, right?
It absolutely is.
The idea that what we believe about someone can actually influence their performance.
The Pygmalion effect is all about expectations.
Oh, wow.
If we're told we're smart and capable, we tend to live up to that.
Yeah.
But if we're told we're inferior, we often underperform.
So this experiment, as intense as it was, actually provides a real-life example of how this psychological phenomenon works.
Exactly.
But we're just getting started.
Oh, yeah.
Day 2, Elliott flips the script, and things get even more intense.
By reversing the roles, she eliminates the possibility that these behavioral changes were just based on the personalities of the individual children. Day 2 is all about proving that the behavior was directly related to the arbitrary hierarchy she created.
Okay, we're back. And I'm still thinking about how quickly those kids' behavior changed.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Elliott flips the script. On day 2, making the brown-eyed kids superior.
It's like just like that whole dynamic shifts again.
So now it's the brown-eyed kids getting the longer recess, the praise.
They get the praise.
The front row seats.
Front row seats, you got it.
And the blue-eyed kids are wearing the collars.
That's right.
Feeling that sting of being labeled inferior.
You know?
Does this sudden power shift change their behavior too?
Absolutely.
Wow.
The brown-eyed children, now in the superior group, exhibit the same confidence.
Oh, wow.
Even some of the same cruelty that we saw from the blue-eyed children on day one.
So it's not about who these kids are.
Yeah.
As individuals, it's about
the roles they're assigned.
The roles they're assigned, the power dynamics at play.
The power dynamics.
It's a chilling thought.
Yeah. It really is. It really highlights how much our behavior is shaped by social context.
Yeah.
By the expectations and roles that are imposed on us.
Right. And just like day one,
yeah,
the brown-eyed children's academic performance
you got it.
goes up when they're given preferential treatment.
Yeah, it reinforces that Pygmalion effect.
It's crazy.
Right.
It's seriously mind-blowing.
It is.
It's like a real-life demonstration how easily we can be manipulated into believing these, like, arbitrary hierarchies.
Right.
And if kids are this susceptible, imagine what happens when these ideas are reinforced over a lifetime.
You're touching on a crucial point.
Right.
Elliott didn't just stop with this experiment.
Okay.
She actually went on to conduct it with adults.
With adults.
And guess what?
What?
She found strikingly similar results.
Adults with all their
life experience.
Life experience and supposed maturity.
And supposed maturity.
Feel for it, too.
It might seem surprising.
Yeah.
But it really underscores the power of these ingrained biases that we all carry.
Okay.
Even as adults.
Yeah.
We're not immune to the influence of these social hierarchies and the expectations that come with them.
So even though we like to think we're rational and objective, our behavior can be influenced
absolutely
by these unconscious biases that we might not even be aware of.
Exactly. And that's where the concept of implicit bias comes into play.
Implicit bias.
Yeah. These are the unconscious attitudes and stereotypes that we hold about different groups of people.
So they can affect our decisions and actions.
They can.
Even when we think.
Even when we think we're being completely fair and impartial.
Okay, so how do we develop these implicit biases in the first place?
Good question.
Is it something we're born with, or is it learned?
It's primarily learned through a process called socialization.
Oh.
From a young age, we absorb messages from our families, our communities, and the broader culture around us.
So it can be like...
These messages can be explicit.
Explicit.
Like outright statements about certain groups.
Oh, okay.
But they can also be implicit.
Okay.
Subtle cues we pick up from our environment.
So it's like we're constantly bombarded with these messages, often without even realizing it.
You got it.
And they shape our understanding of the world.
Think about the media we consume. Okay. The stories we're told, even the jokes we hear.
Yeah.
They all contribute to shaping our perceptions of different groups. Yeah. And unfortunately, those messages are often laced with stereotypes and biases.
That's a little unsettling to think about how much our worldview is shaped by these, like, outside influences.
It is.
So if these implicit biases are so ingrained, is it even possible to unlearn them?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
But I believe it's possible. Okay. It starts with awareness.
Okay.
We need to educate ourselves about implicit bias, understand that we all have them to some degree,
right,
and be willing to examine our own thoughts and behaviors.
That sounds like a tall order.
It is.
I mean, requires introspection.
Yeah, it's one thing to acknowledge that bias exists in the world.
Right.
But it's another thing.
It's another thing to admit.
To admit that we might be harboring those biases.
Those biases ourselves. Yeah, it definitely requires some introspection and a willingness to be uncomfortable.
Be uncomfortable.
But that discomfort is actually a sign of growth.
Okay.
It means we're challenging our ingrained beliefs.
Okay.
And opening ourselves up to new perspectives.
Okay, so besides awareness, what are some, like, concrete steps we can take to challenge these biases in our daily lives?
One of the most effective strategies is to actively
seek out diverse perspectives.
Okay, so actively seek out.
Yeah. Read books and articles by authors from different backgrounds.
Okay.
Watch movies and documentaries that explore different cultures. Engage in conversations with people whose experiences differ from your own.
So it's about expanding our bubble.
It is.
Getting outside our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And exposing ourselves to a wider range of
viewpoints.
And lived experience.
Lived experiences. Okay. What else can we do?
Another powerful tool is practicing empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah.
Try to put yourself in the shoes of someone.
Yeah, imagine what it's like to walk through the world
Okay.
with their experiences, their challenges, their perspectives.
Empathy.
Right.
That's a big one.
It is.
It helps us connect with others.
Yeah.
On a human level,
well,
to see them as individuals rather than just stereotypes.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the shared humanity that binds us together despite our differences.
Okay, so...
Awareness, exposure to diverse perspectives, empathy.
Yep.
These are all crucial steps in the journey of unlearning.
It is.
These harmful biases.
Harmful biases.
But I have a feeling this is an ongoing process.
You're absolutely right.
Right. It's not like we just check a box and say, okay, I'm done with bias.
It's a lifelong endeavor.
Right.
It's about constantly questioning our assumptions, being open to learning and growing, and making a conscious effort to treat everyone with fairness and respect, regardless of their background or identity.
It sounds like challenging these ingrained biases is both an individual and a collective responsibility.
And it's crucial to remember that we're not alone in this.
Yeah.
There are countless organizations and individuals working to combat prejudice and discrimination.
Yeah, by joining forces, supporting each other, continuing to learn and grow. We can create a more just and equitable world.
Absolutely.
Well, you've given us a lot to consider.
We've covered a lot.
We've gone from a classroom experiment to the complexities of implicit bias and the ongoing work of unlearning prejudice.
It's a lot.
But we're not quite finished yet.
We're not.
We've talked about the impact of Elliott's work. But there's another side to this story that we need to address.
Okay.
The criticisms and the controversy surrounding her approach.
We'll get into that.
So we've unpacked a lot about Jane Elliott's experiment.
Right.
We've seen how it plays out with both kids and adults.
Yeah.
And we've explored this concept of implicit bias.
Implicit bias.
But we can't ignore the controversy, right? I mean, intentionally creating a hostile environment in a classroom full of children.
Yeah, I mean,
that's bound to raise some eyebrows, right?
Critics argue that putting kids through that kind of emotional roller coaster is potentially harmful, you know?
Yeah.
Even traumatizing.
Right, even traumatizing.
Some even say that it could backfire, making prejudice seem more real or justified in the kids' minds.
It makes you wonder about the ethics, right?
It was.
These kids were essentially like captive participants in their own classroom.
Yeah, they didn't have a choice.
Didn't have a choice in the matter.
It's a valid concern.
Right.
And it brings up these bigger questions about like research ethics.
Research ethics.
Especially when children are involved.
Right.
How do you weigh the potential for knowledge against the potential harm to the participants?
But Elliott has a strong counter-argument.
Right.
She says the real world is even harsher.
Right.
That her classroom was a controlled environment.
Yeah.
Where the kids could learn about discrimination in a safe space.
Relatively speaking, yeah.
At least relatively speaking.
Right.
Right.
And remember, the experiment only lasted 2 days.
Okay.
She made sure to debrief with the students afterwards extensively to help them process their feelings and understand the bigger picture.
Of course, Elliott would point out that, the discomfort the kids felt during those 2 days paled in comparison to the lifelong consequences of real-world prejudice and discrimination.
Of course.
She wanted them to experience it viscerally to make a lasting impact.
You have to consider the historical context, too.
Right, the historical context.
This was 1968.
1968.
Right after MLK.
Right after MLK was assassinated.
Racial tensions.
The racial tensions were incredibly high.
Elliott was desperate to make her students understand the harsh reality of discrimination.
Not just in their heads.
Not just in their heads, but in their hearts.
In their hearts.
Yeah.
She wanted to shake them out of their complacency, force them to see the world through the eyes of those who are constantly marginalized and oppressed.
Right. It's a bold approach, for sure.
Yeah.
And definitely not without its critics.
Right.
But there's no denying the impact of Elliott's work.
The impact, right.
This experiment became a cultural phenomenon.
Wow.
It's been featured in documentaries.
Oh, wow.
And is still studied and debated today.
Wow. So it sparks so many important conversations.
Absolutely.
About race.
Race, prejudice.
And how our minds work.
Yeah, it's forced us to confront some some uncomfortable truths about ourselves.
For sure.
And how easily we fall into those traps of bias and discrimination.
And maybe that's the real value here.
Yeah.
Not whether Elliott's methods were perfect.
Right.
But the conversations they started.
The conversation.
What can we learn from the strengths and weaknesses of her approach?
Right.
How can we use those lessons to have more productive and nuanced conversation?
About these crucial issues today, right?
Absolutely.
It feels like a call to action, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Elliott's experiment reminds us that prejudice isn't just a theoretical concept.
Right.
It has real-world consequences.
Real-world consequences.
And it challenges each of us.
It does.
To examine our own biases.
To seek out diverse perspectives.
To seek out diverse perspectives and to fight for a more just and equitable world.
And to keep in mind what we discussed earlier about awareness,
empathy,
and continuous learning.
Continuous learning,
Those are the tools we need to dismantle those harmful biases, both within ourselves and in the world around us.
This deep dive has been eye-opening, to say the least.
Really has.
It's given us so much to think about. And I hope it's done the same for you.
Me too. We all have a role to play in creating a more just world.
Yeah, we do.
And the fight continues.
It does.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Keep learning.
Keep questioning.
Keep questioning.
And keep pushing for positive change.